All right, we're off the edge, and it is episode 7. We're flying right through these episodes. This is your daily watch for your NFL stuff. So appreciate you being here. Before we get into it, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. This is Cameron Lynch. I am Jake Ellenbogen, and we're in mock draft season. Probably way before the mock draft season was a long time ago. We're in like draft week, but what better time to do it than now? I mean,
let's go.
A first round mock draft as close as it gets to the actual draft. Cam, I think this was the right approach, and I'm excited to get into it with you.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. A lot of these, how we built this up, Jake, right? Our previous episodes 1 through 6 were, hey, these are the sleepers. You know, these are guys that won't be going on the first day. But, you know, with this, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes, right? The guys that we'll see fly off the board come Thursday, and we're going to talk about them right now and give us our thoughts on them. So lock in.
Absolutely. We're locked in, and betonline.ag, just so you know, is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs: basketball, MLB, NHL, hockey, right to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head on over to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code Bleav to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. So Cam, we're starting where the only way you start in the NFL draft, the number 1 overall pick, right? So the Carolina Panthers got this by arm wrestling. No, I kid. They traded with the Chicago Bears, and let's be honest, Cam, you're not trading up to number 1 overall from number 9 to and giving away a number 1 receiver if you don't have signal caller in mind. So the question remains, which signal caller is it going to be? We've talked about it. Who's your pick, man?
Jake, I'm going to have to go with our guy. I mean, it's no secret at this point, Jake. We all know that this guy canceled his meetings throughout the rest of the week. After his Panthers visit, it seems like it's about locked in at this point. I know he gets the Drew Brees comparison. Guy 5'10", 204, coming out of Mater Dei High School, Gatorade Player of the Year as well. Bryce Young, that's who I'm rolling with. I'm sure the rest of the world is as well, unless there's a crazy trade come Thursday, Jake. Right now, this is the mock draft. Now, unless something crazy happens, we'll see. I know Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets today, so hey, or the day before today, so things can get crazy. But I got Bryce Young going first for me. One thing, Jake, before I pass the mic over to you, that I saw that seeing CJ Stroud as well. Like, which one am I going to go with? I saw magic when I saw Bryce. Just watching him, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit different. When I saw CJ, I'm seeing like he's looking like he's supposed to look. You go to Ohio State, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. as your receiver. They're supposed to look like that. And seeing guys like Bryce Young, he does have great receivers, but just to see him so short, get out of plays, make things happen like your Patrick Mahomes does, it's like he has that magical feel to him. That's why I want him my number 1. So what are your thoughts there, Jake?
Yeah, so I look at Bryce Young as the best quarterback in the draft. He doesn't have the highest ceiling. I think that goes to Anthony Richardson out of Florida. But, the Panthers didn't move up to take any other position. Bryce teased this, like you mentioned, with the cancellation of pre-draft visits. I think the whole short piece, whatever you want to call it, that's already been debunked because Kyler Murray. And I think if you asked most teams, you asked all 32 teams who they would take a number 1 overall, and they had to give their public answer, I think Bryce Young would be your consensus favorite. And so that's who I'm picking. I'm just going to stick with it. I'm a big fan of his. I think he proved it, when guys like Jalen Waddle, when guys like Jamison Williams, guys like that left, he was still able to be a successful quarterback. And, I think he proved it this past year. Not as much wide receiver talent as years in the past, but I'm a big fan of his game, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And Panthers, I said it on here before. I'll say it again. Panthers are going to the playoffs, and Bryce Young is going to be hosting a playoff game. And I think they'll have a chance to win that game too, but we'll see what ends up happening. Moving on, Cam, we got the Houston Texans. We got a brand new head coach, D'Amico Ryans, taking on this squad. First off, love it. Former player, drafted by the Texans. Now he gets to, live out that dream of being, the head coach of the team that literally took a chance on you. So this is a little interesting, Kim. I don't know where you're going to go with this one. There are a lot of people that say the Texans are taking CJ Stroud, taking a quarterback. That's a, given. I'm not as sure. And the reason for that, Vegas, they lie, but they don't lie all the time. And right now, Vegas is cooking with some serious gas. The idea that Will Levis will actually be the second quarterback taken overall. I think it was minus 140 to go number 2 overall. Those are ridiculous odds. Not something that I would expect. Who do you have coming off the board to Houston or another team if you decide to trade at number 2?
That could be a burning question, Jake. If it was one, right? For folks that don't know, a burning question. That's how we start off our show. So the fact that the Texans will take Will Levis over CJ Stroud at number 2, who is my pick, it's a hot take. It might be, it might be one of those things. But one thing I will say, Will Levis, seeing him in the media lately, right? Talking about his arm, throwing that football from the 50-yard line. And like, Jake, I know I sent it to you. You were like, oh, I'm not buying it. I don't know. I know Colin Cowherd was coming on television. It was like, hey, a guy with this attitude, with this personality, with this ego is not going to work in the NFL, blah, blah, blah. Jake, I like it. I like the Will Levis, personality. You got to have some swag when it comes to it. One thing I will say, though, is, if you take like your Will Levis or you take a guy, when it comes to just getting through stuff, right? When stuff hits the fan, is he going to be macho like he is now, right? What does that look like? So, you see your Josh Allen who can throw the ball like Will Levis can probably run the ball or run like Will Levis can, whatever that is. But, you don't really see that type of personality come out through the media. So, it is what it is. That's on him, but he's not my number 2. My number 2 is CJ Stroud, coming out of California as well. I was born in California. He is too, him and Bryce Young. So it's kind of cool to see that connection, Jake. I'm trying to find each connection point there. So he's from the Inland Empire in Rancho Cucamonga out in California. He sat behind Justin Fields when he played at Ohio State. So to see that legacy being passed down, to see, Justin Fields find success in the NFL, and for CJ to witness that himself, I'm sure it's a lot of confidence that bubbles in. This whole Bryce Young and CJ Stroud piece is kind of reminding me, when I went to the NFL with, Mariota and Jameis Winston. They're not the same player. I'm not saying that, but it's like that tug and pull. Who's going to be the guy? Who is him? Right. And of course you bring out that sizzle information with Will Levis being the guy, but this reminds me of that, with the CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, just kind of that battle here. CJ Stroud throwing to guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. Like I said, elite arm. You got elite receivers, a really quick release. It looks easy. It looks almost effortless. And like I said, the difference between him and Bryce Young is when Bryce Young will play football, it looks magical. Like, nah, he didn't just do that. And so I wouldn't say I didn't get that from CJ Stroud, but he's a professional. At the end of the day, he's a professional, hands down. Draft him number 2. I don't know about Will Levis. Draft CJ Stroud number 2. He's coming from that Ohio State, legacy there, where it's a great football move, and it's going to be a great business move as well. Ohio State fans travel like crazy. They'll be in Texas. They'll probably be packing out that stadium there. So I like the CJ Stroud move. Jake, what are your thoughts?
I have Will Anderson Jr. going to the Houston Texans.
Okay.
Look, D'Amico Ryans has a lot of time here. I don't think people realize it. And whether I agree with it or not, I'm starting to buy into the hype that there won't be, like we talked about that. Schefter said there might not be a quarterback until pick 4 after Bryce Young. I kind of don't necessarily see that, but I kind of feel like Houston isn't picking a quarterback here. They have 2 first-round picks, and I think the best thing for them to do is, kind of go with your gut. If you feel like Will Anderson Jr. is the best defensive player on your board and is the best overall player on your board, and you're hoping that Bryce Young falls but not expecting him to, you got to go with your gut here. And I think DeMeco Ryans defensive guy. I just think at the end of the day, he's going to end up being their best player available. I know there are people that still think that Tyree Wilson could go here. I think that's a little too early for him. So I'm going to go with Will Anderson Jr. I think he's a great run defender. I think that's something that just stands out to me. Can deconstruct blocks. He's a good pass rusher. He is one of the best players in this draft, bar none. You're going out, you're getting a defensive player for a defensive-minded coach. With 2 first-round picks, there might be a little deal here with, in that war room, like, all right, DeMeco, you get your defensive guy as long as we get to get our offensive guy at pick 12. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I'm taking Will Anderson Jr. here out of Alabama to go to the Texans at pick 2. But number 3 here is very interesting because the Cardinals now, based on my board, there's only 1 quarterback off the board. That pick just became incredibly valuable. On your side, even though 2 quarterbacks went, that pick is still very valuable. You can get the number 1 pass rusher. You could get one of the top 2 quarterbacks remaining. You can go out and get Jalen Carter. You can go out and get Devin Witherspoon. I'm curious to see, Cam, do the Cardinals keep the pick in your mock, and who do they select if they do?
Yes. So, Jake, they keep the pick. They keep
Okay.
the pick. The Cardinals keep the pick. I think they need everything they can get at this point, Jake. They need all the excitement they can get. If they go down, like
after those uniforms.
Hey, that's neither here nor there. The Cardinals, they got a lot to work on, Jake. We talk about this in the Bleav in Rams podcast. We always, when it comes to 49ers, the Cardinals, Seahawks, we give them smoke, and the Cardinals got a lot to work on. So go ahead and work on that, y'all. One thing I will say is you mentioned Will Anderson. He was on my board as well, Jake. The fact that we talk about Bryce Young, of course, Heisman Trophy winner, all football, everything. But the fact that Will Anderson was up for the Heisman at some point, like, come on, man. If you're getting Heisman votes as a defensive player, that's next level. One thing in my notes I have here, I think they used to call him the Terminator in high school before he got to college. Just the way he plays ball, like he looks ready to go. Just turn on the tape and just watch his stance. I mean, he looks like he's just ready to just tear somebody up. A lot of times when you rush the passer, you got a more of a relaxed look. Not Will Anderson. Will Anderson is just everything is turned up a notch there. So, I have some here in my notes. His get off is insane. The way he gets off the football is next level. When it comes to people blocking him, they're going to have 2 blockers minimum, right? And a lot of times you're on the edge, that counts as a tight end or a running back. So, I said if he stays healthy, just the way he attacks the football, it reminds me of the Bosa brothers, the Watt brothers, just the intensity and the way he gets after the quarterback. So, and Jake, I also have my notes just watching this film. The man can cover too. The man can get back and play zone defense. So you mentioned it. He's one of the best players on the field here, and in the draft, he was up for the Heisman. I think 5th in Heisman voting. Sign him up. Whatever team, sign him up. But I do think the Cardinals need to go get him. They need to figure that out. They got the quarterback, so go ahead and figure out how to get somebody that can get the quarterback the football back. And I do think that's Will Anderson. So that's my thoughts.
So I have them going in a different direction.
Yeah,
I'm trading the pick because I need more help, Cam. I can't just, I know you go out, you get a Pro Bowl guy, and that makes a lot of sense. And look, I mean, Will Anderson Jr. is not a bad pick, but I think the Cardinals have a very good opportunity here. A lucrative deal potentially could be in place here. And that team is going to be the Tennessee Titans. Okay. Moving up from pick 11 all the way up to pick 3. It's going to cost them a first rounder next year, a second rounder this year, maybe even a late pick on day 3. And I think it's going to be worth it because I think they're going to go up and get CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. I think right now the thing that's tipping this for me is, one, We already know it's been out there. They want to move up. They're interested in moving up. They're interested in moving up for a quarterback. Number 2, we've heard about Ryan Tannehill, the buzz. They want to move Ryan Tannehill. That tells me that they're interested in a quarterback. It tells me it's not Anthony Richardson, because Richardson is not ready to start day one. Like I initially kind of thought maybe he could, but the Titans have too good of a roster. I'm not saying they're a great team, but they have a roster that's ready to compete that I think it would be doing, a disservice to guys that, especially like a Jeffrey Simmons who just signed his deal, would be a disservice to those guys to not try and compete and put the best quarterback on the field. So I think CJ Stroud, franchise quarterback level, best pocket passer in the draft by far. And I think with the Tannehill piece, I think that's really something that kind of facilitates this deal. And maybe they're able to move Tannehill to the Arizona Cardinals as part of this deal in some weird way, eating some money, giving him to Arizona. Arizona now has a quarterback to get him through, half the season with Kyler, on the bench injured. You could see something like that, or they trade him later on. But CJ Stroud is your starting quarterback in my little mock draft here. He's your starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, fair enough, Jake. I mean, you never know when the draft comes, Jake, and it happens. We're just gonna clip this up, post it out there, and say, "Hey, told you so."
Told you so. Or I'm going to be absolutely wrong and people are going to laugh, and I'm all for it.
And that's okay. That's okay, right? We're just giving our thoughts on the draft here, our thoughts on these players, because we're going to be seeing them again, right? We're week 51 in and off the edge, Jake, and we got a lot of more weeks to jump in about this. So you're just hearing them now. We're just planting the seed at the moment. So no worries there. For me, at number 4, Jake, I know we have the Colts coming up here. So we talk about their quarterback situation. We talk about your Nick Foles. We talk about your Gardner Minshew. These are guys who won football games. Nick Foles got a Super Bowl under his belt. I played with Nick, great guy, great teacher. And there's someone in this draft, Jake, a quarterback who needs a great teacher, right? Gardner Minshew can show him, some different techniques, how to throw the ball over the mountains, whatever you want there. Anthony Richardson. I got him going to the Colts, Jake. I got Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. I know you mentioned he's not ready to start yet. Hey, once he steps on that football field, he gets that playbook down. He has Nick Foles to coach him up, Gardner Minshew, who's found some success at different places, Jags, Eagles. Same thing, Nick Foles, Eagles as well, Rams. So he has some folks that can show him the way. So I'm confident that, if Anthony Richardson does get on that roster, let's say he sits for training OTAs, training camp, and maybe throughout the season, Nick Foles starts things off. And then, hey, once he gets once Nick Foles does his thing, Anthony Richardson understands the speed of the game. He's able to call some calls from the sideline and understand what's going on. Then I think we get Anthony Richardson in there, right, and see kind of what he does there. So I like Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. People just turn on his tape, man. My man did a backflip at the pro day and set it off. After he did that, and I think someone mentioned this, but they were like, hey, when you're at your pro day, show off, like show everything. So once he did that backflip, I was like, oh, sign him. And Jake, you were high on him at first, Jake. You were high on him a long time ago. So to see a guy like this go fourth in the draft would be great. And Jake, I knew he was going to be special. I think me and my lady, we were watching the game against Utah. She was kind of casually watching it, and it was a 2-point conversion play, that jump spin where like the guy thought he tackled him and he spun out of it and threw a touchdown. When I saw that play, I was like, "Oh, he's him, he's him." So I got Anthony Richardson, Colts, 4th pick. Like I said, home run ability, and he has the wow factor.
I'm with you. I have Anthony Richardson to the Colts, and the reasons you stated. They signed Minshew to start, and I think this puts him in position where there's no pressure. Richardson, as good as you can be, you're not going to be needed to be our starter. We're going to take this slow. If, by any means you outplay him in practice, we can have that conversation, but you were a 1-year starter, to be fair. There were other guys there. Emory Jones was there in Florida, so Kyle Trask, guys like that. So you didn't get your opportunity until this past year. You look good, but there are some things we just want to work on. No, I think it makes a lot of sense, Cam. And, I think Minshew, people forget, is a solid quarterback. I don't think he gets enough respect. He's had to come in a pinch and make things happen. And Sam Ellinger's also on the roster. I'm not like really high on him either, but it gives you you have depth. You have 4 quarterbacks at that point, and I think he's the best scrambling quarterback in the draft. He's got arm talent, for days, so to speak. Effortless thrower of the football. Can really layer it over linebackers. He's gonna have his highs and lows, and I think this is somebody that compares very similarly to a Patrick Mahomes in the fact that he's not necessarily ready to start day one because Patrick Mahomes is a little different, right? He played way more than him. He had more experience, but people forget Mahomes playing that air raid style offense. Didn't throw a lot of picks. He was my number 1 quarterback in that draft. Loved him, but Mahomes didn't start right away. That was Alex Smith. So when he took over that last game of the year, to kind of get him some reps because they had already clinched a spot in the playoffs, they started to see, okay, this guy is literally who we thought he was. The next year he's starting. Could be something like that. Minshew's a 1-year thing, and then, they're in the playoff race, wherever. They clinched the playoff berth, and then week 18, you got Anthony Richardson. Hey, you're starting to see what you can do. Next year, after he shows you some things, he starts. So I love this, and I think Chris Ballard is going to be jumping over the moon because you didn't have to make any sort of trade. He just fell into your lap, and I'll say this right now, Cam, Anthony Richardson has elite level potential. We are talking on the level of Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the second best player in the NFL. If he reaches his potential, he'll be right below Patrick Mahomes. I think he's that legit. I think he's got Cam Newton's ability to make plays, off script with his legs. And I think he breaks tackles well. He's got it all. And so I think really he just needs to put it all together, as far as a technical standpoint. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, that's my thoughts on him.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, they gave the man number 15 at University of Florida. The only other person
they knew.
They knew. I mean, Tim Tebow wore that number. I thought that thing was going to be retired and hang it up in the rafters. But
so weird, it's not. He's the best college football player of all time.
Yeah, and then Anthony Richardson gets his number and those touchdowns and spins on people and does backflip. Like, come on.
They knew.
Yeah,
they knew, man.
It's a great compliment, and I think it's on Anthony Richardson at this point, right, to make sure that jersey's hung up forever, that nobody else gets it. But no, you just mentioned it. Just he could be one of the better players to play in the NFL next year, right? Depending on how things go, and if he gets a great coach, a great quarterback coach to walk him through the process, right? Walk him through, not run. Just walk that young man through. Another person, just kind of going to the 5th pick here, with Seattle, that I would love to see go there. And I do think if Seattle signs him, they're going to break the record for the decibel meter, Jake, just the way this man plays. I know a lot of things in his profile is maturity. They want him to mature a little bit. I say here, I know we compare people to Aaron Donald a lot. I just say Aaron Donald elite. No one will ever be Aaron Donald. No one will ever be your Michael Jordan or your LeBron James. But this guy can be very, very elite if he matures. And I got Jalen Carter, right? 6'3", coming out of Georgia, 314 pounds. Jake, we all know the headline stuff, that stuff came out right before, the bowl game. We know all the stuff he has to go through, right? He has to do community service, driving classes. I know he's been through a lot when it comes to the reckless driving piece. But, you work on that, right? You work on that. No one's perfect. And you follow them through. You make sure that they mature and kind of see where they go. Jalen Carter could be a great addition to the Seahawks, right? Pete Carroll talking about Geno Smith and evaluating quarterbacks in the draft and understanding what that looks like. A defensive guy like this, you got Bobby Wagner back. So you got someone that can coach this guy up. We talk about maturity. Bobby Wagner will be like, hey, come talk to me, young man. All right, let me just show you, the way to operate. And so I like a Jalen Carter playing on the defensive line for the Seahawks. They got a decent team, Jake. I mean, we watched, last year they were struggling at the beginning and they kind of brought it around towards the end of the year. Hey, they beat out the Rams, right? And so a guy like Jalen Carter would be a great addition to their team. Like I said, I think they break the decibel meter, right, Jake, if they bring him on that football team. I think he's going to cause some havoc. He's going to create some sacks, and he was a part of a defense at UGA who didn't allow more than 77 yards per game. To be a part of that, that's a mentality. You know what I mean? So if he brings that mentality to the Seahawks where Bobby Wagner is, it's only going to spread. It's only going to spread for the rest of the team. And folks will be that much more dangerous. So I got Jalen Carter going to the Seahawks at number 5.
I do too. The crazy, great minds think alike, but it's, I think, 3 out of the 5 there. We have, but no, I think Jalen Carter, at the end of the day, he's one of the best players in this draft. He has off the field stuff. It's not as concerning as it's been in the past. We've seen honestly worse. Lyle Collins got blown up into something that it really wasn't. The poor guy was trying to help the authorities out, and he ended up going undrafted. But when I look at Jalen, Carter, to me, the Seahawks need help on their defensive line. And I think that people forget, yes, Jaron Reed, that was a good pickup. And yes, they have Draymond Jones. Miles Adams and Brian Moan is not going to be enough. And they lost Poona Ford in he's still a free agent, but he's not on the team. So I think Jalen Carter fits right in there. I don't know why this pick is mocked anything other than Jalen Carter at this point. I see way too many mocks not having him going here. I think this is the perfect fit. Otherwise, you trade down. If he doesn't make sense for you, then you're not interested. You need the position, but you don't want to deal with the red flags. And if that's the case, trade down, go get a Daba War or go get Cansey. But to me, I agree with you. I think Carter makes the most sense at 5 here.
Yep, I like him there. Moving forward, going to Tennessee, at number 6. I know you flipped. I think you traded with Tennessee and you kind of flipped and dipped. I'm going to keep Tennessee there. I'm going to go with Will Levis. I'm going to go with Will Levis there. You mentioned it with his quarterback talent. Yeah, I know Vegas has him going number 2. I got him kind of going, number 6 after Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud. I know he started at Penn State and worked his way over to Kentucky. We talked about this, the Manning passing camp. I mean, he was on their show as well. He had Peyton Manning cracking up about his ability to throw the football. So, character is an important thing. And I know I talked about, him being on Colin Cowherd's show and him not liking his personality. Jake, you need a guy that can sling the football, and he can do that. He's a captain as well, right? And he might be a silly person, or his character might be, whatever it is, but he's a captain. His teammates respect him; they love him. So, we just have to deal with his personality. And I kind of I won't say the comparison here is like Josh Allen, but the way he's able to throw the football, the way he's able to zip it into tight spaces, the way he's able to run and use his legs to create space. Just even seeing his pro day, just the way he was taking his snaps, his feet, he looked jittery, he looked fresh, he looked explosive. So I can see him, stepping into this role at Tennessee behind Tannehill. Tannehill can run as well. Boy Tannehill, he has wheels. So being able to take them skills, and we go from the business side as well, Jake, him going to Kentucky, Tennessee, it's not that far. I looked it up. It's probably like 3 or 4 hours. So, those fans can make that trip, wear their Kentucky jerseys to the Tennessee Titans game, maybe buy some more Will Levis gear and make it happen. But I always want to look at this, from a business perspective and a playing perspective, because these guys aren't just athletes. They're more than that. And I think Will Levis can be great for that Tennessee market and being behind, just the talent that's already there. So, that's what I have for Will Levis, Jake. I know you traded up for him, but curious to hear your 6th pick.
So I have the Lions staying put here. They traded Jeff Okudah, as you know, to the Atlanta Falcons. And I think obviously spending a high pick on a tight end after Eric Ebron, no one thought they would do that. They go out and they get TJ Hawkinson. That was my guy. I don't know why they traded him, but they did. People have been saying there's no way they're going to draft a cornerback high after what happened with Jeff Okudah. Congrats on being wrong, because they're absolutely going to do that. Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois is a certified dog. He is a day 1 starter. He is the best corner in the NFL draft. And to me, when you're looking about the swag, the ferociousness, tenacity of Jalen Ramsey, he's got that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the size of Ramsey. He doesn't have necessarily that size. But what I actually compared Witherspoon to, I compared him to Darius Slay of the Philadelphia Eagles. And Darius Slay made a living for the Detroit Lions. So, look, I think anybody in Detroit would want Witherspoon on that team. It's working out well. They went out and got Kirby Joseph last year out of Illinois. Go get another Illinois guy. I got Witherspoon.
Okay. And I made a trade on that one too. I meant to say that I made a trade for that pick.
Oh, yeah, I figured.
Yeah, but I mean, Witherspoon's a baller though, Jake.
He is.
I have here in my notes, he's talking shit. The one thing I know, he's making a play, and I have here talk shit and physical, and I like that. Right, you got to have that swag, like you said, Jalen Ramsey or Slay. Like those guys talk smack. You got to be able to back it up. With it, he can back it up. You turn on that tape and he can back it up. I love his gameplay. First team All-American, like I said, coming out of Illinois, Jim Thorpe Award, like he's him. So I love that pick, Jake. I have a different cornerback, Jake, coming off the board. At number 7, I know we just mentioned the trade, but I have for number 7, I got the Raiders coming up here. You might have something a little bit different. With a couple trades, things get a little wonky, but going to the Raiders, I got Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. Ran a 4.38, 41-inch vert, 11.1-inch broad. Jake, I had a chance to witness this in person, Jake, going to the Colorado game. My little sister goes to the University of Colorado, and we're sitting there. It's our first time seeing her at Colorado. Woo! And you're just seeing their team, Colorado. You're just seeing sadness the whole day, because my man Christian Gonzalez has 2 interceptions, one for a touchdown versus Colorado, and then another one he just picks off against his former team. My man went absolutely off versus Colorado, and seeing him in person, he's the real deal. For him, I don't really have the shit talker for him, but I got super swag. He's just cool, calm, and collective. He almost has like that kind of like with Jalen Ramsey, who makes a big play. He don't really talk much, but he's kind of just sits back and like, yeah, I'm him. So if you got the Diggs brother, right, from the Cowboys, just kind of that swag. You make a big play, and it's like, yeah, I'm him. So I like Christian Gonzalez. Like I said, I seen him first, in first person. He has a tackle on his highlight tape, man, or on his tape where he flips a Colorado player on his head, one of the fullbacks. Like, to see a corner like up in someone like that, bring him on my team. So I got Christian Gonzalez, my man.
Yeah, I like Christian Gonzalez a lot. I think the athleticism jumps off the charts, and obviously you look at the range and just the fact the burn rate. He doesn't get burned, right? I think the biggest issue with him was the physicality. I think you see it, but you don't see it consistently. There are times where he's like, I want to hit this guy like a steaming demon, a missile, and then it's like there are times where I'm not in that mood. You know what I mean? I want to see him play with,
fluffy pillow.
But like that's the thing. Like with Devin Witherspoon, he's always in that mood, man. He wants to hit you. Then while you're in pain on the ground, he wants to tell you how much pain you're in on the ground. Like that's him. He is him. So that I agree with that. I got Peter Skoronski going to the Raiders. Now there's a lot of interesting dialogue going on with Skoronski, and unless there's a quarterback like Anthony Richardson that falls here, I don't think the Raiders are taking a quarterback. I really don't, because Richardson could sit behind Jimmy G. That would make sense. I think they believe in Jimmy G. So if they take a quarterback, maybe it's 4th round or whatever, but I think they believe in him. They paid him, like it. So look, I think they're going to get protection for Jimmy G. I think the big thing is you look over at that right tackle position. Okay, they got Colt Miller. They're fine at left tackle, but right tackle is a problem. They have Jermaine Illuminor. They have Brandon Parker. Neither of those guys are good, so to speak. They're guys, but I don't feel good about Jimmy G, coming off that right side. So I need to go out and get myself a guy. Maybe I move Skoronski to left tackle and move, Miller to right tackle. But the point is, I need to go out and get a guy, right? And Skoronski out of Northwestern is that guy. I think he's somewhat being unfairly treated because of the length. There are people saying that he needs to move to guard. The guy's a tackle. Okay, I can't stress it enough. I'm watching him go against these top defensive guys out of the Big Ten, and he's just stonewalling them. Okay, miss me with the Skoronski isn't a tackle stuff. Okay, he is absolutely a tackle, and to me, he comes off the board here. He's the best tackle in the draft, and he can play on my team any day.
Yeah, no, Skoronski. One thing I like about him is his hands. He keeps his hands high. He can move really well. He's sound technician. So I like it, Jake. I'm right there with you. I like it a lot. For me, I want to get rolling here a little bit. For me here, I know we got the Falcons coming up soon. I got a guy, a Texas Tech guy, right? 6'6", 270.
I do as well.
Okay, perfect. Love it. I won't share too much. Pass it to you. You can share some, but my man had 7 sacks on the season. Honorable mentions. He can stand up. He can put his hand in the dirt. I have a comp for him, Will. Jake, I have a comp for him as Will Golson is his comp for me. More athletic than Will. I know Will's an athlete, but he can move a little bit better than Will, I Bleav. Will is more of a 3 tech. This young man can stand up and blitz the edge. So, but I like the body type, the similar body type as Will Golson. Like I said, long, he's powerful, and he can force fumbles, right? Just by him putting that hand in there, he can knock that ball down. So I like Tyree Wilson going to the Falcons. They're going to need someone to get that football, and he can get that done. Like I said, 6'6", 270, coming off the edge with great moves and great length. I got him locked in there. How about you, Jake? I know you said you have him around the same place. So,
yeah, no, I have Tyree Wilson going off the board here to Atlanta at pick 8. I think at the end of the day, he is a top 10 player. I don't necessarily subscribe to the hype of him being the top defensive player in the draft, going number 2, like some of the hype is pushing him towards. But I kind of see a guy, he's similar to Ziggy Ansah, who, he was drafted by the Detroit Lions, kind of that just monster type of, edge defender. Maybe more of, I would probably say he's more of a 4-3 defensive end than he is a 3-4 outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. That's where I like him personally. I don't think he's a perfect prospect, but the massive frame he has to grow into, I think he's got one of the highest ceilings in the NFL draft, and his motor's just always on. I really like the guy. I mean, I think he's a top 10 talent, and he's going to help that Falcons pass rush. And I'll tell you right now, the Falcons will be sitting there like, we really want to go with the in-house Georgia guy, Nolan Smith, but they're not going to be able to pass up that size. They're just not.
Yep. It's tough. And here next, coming out of the number 9th pick, I got the Bears here at number 9. Someone that is very impressive and blocked for a quarterback that went a little bit earlier in the draft, but I got Paris Johnson. Ohio State guy. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah. He's like I said, 6'6", 313, big guy. And I feel like too, when it comes to, I got here on my notes, Big Nasty. I got him here as Big Nasty, pancake machine. He's brutal, Jake. And there's people that you want to see like that at the offensive tackle position, because we just talked about defensive ends who are bringing the smoke. So I want a guy who can put that smoke out. And I think he can put that smoke out in Paris Johnson, coming from Ohio State, high profile school, and just a pancake machine, right? And and what I have here in my notes as well is like, if he can fine tune his craft, I can see him playing for a long time. Just the way he carries himself, I know he's only in college, but just the way he carries himself, I'm like, oh, this is like a 10-year, 12-year pro in the NFL. So I like Paris Johnson going to the Bears there, and just kind of with the Bears makeup, blocking for Justin Fields. I think that's important. That's number 1. Get a guy that can block for Justin. So I like him there at that position.
Yeah, I really like Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. I think, look, at the end of the day, I think there's a chance that he's going to be the best offensive tackle on a lot of teams' boards. I mean, I think probably more than 20 teams in the first round will like him most. And I think there's going to be a lot of teams that look at Skoronski as a guard. And the Bears, my thing here is they had the number 1 overall pick. We talked about that. They traded down to 9 with Carolina. You doubled down on Justin Fields. That's what you did. You had an opportunity, in my opinion, to get better quarterbacks. I thought Bryce Young was a better quarterback. Anthony Richardson has a higher ceiling. CJ Stroud's probably better. Justin Fields, he runs very well, right? But I have concerns about how well he's seeing the field and whatnot. And sure, now he has weapons, so we'll see what ends up happening. But if you are going to double down on Fields, my friend, you need to go and protect him. We talk about that all the time. So Paris Johnson makes a ton of sense. I love the pick, and quite honestly, I think that's the one that they're going to make as well.
Yep, I like it. And at number 10, I got the Eagles up here. I know we talked about a great cornerback in Slay. I want a little combo love here. So similar to how the Cowboys, they got 2 high-profile cornerbacks. I want to go with Devon Witherspoon here as my Eagles pick here. And I know we're doubling down on defense here, but we gotta get some folks who can get Jalen Hurts the ball back. We got the Brinks truck on the offensive side, so let's go pick that ball off and get it right back to him. You talked about Mr. Witherspoon being all corner, all everything. He is that. I see he's 5'10", compared to Christian Gonzalez, who's a 6'3". So Witherspoon have to talk a little bit more smack, right? We call that the small man Napoleon syndrome, right? Where even for me, being 6 feet tall, playing in the NFL, these guys are 6'5". I gotta talk my smack, right? And so I see him as that pit bull at the cornerback position with Slay on the other side. I think they can get things going on that defense. So that's my thoughts there.
This is from the New Orleans trade, so that's why the Eagles have the 10th pick, despite the fact they were just in the Super Bowl. Man, the rich get richer, don't they? Eagles go BPA here, regardless. I think you and I are in the same boat. I have them going with my second overall cornerback, Christian Gonzalez. So we both had corner in mind. They have the talent in the room already with Bradbury, Slay, Maddox, and I like Zach McPherson. But I think the talent is too good to pass up, and especially with Slay into his 30s now, he almost left. I mean, keep that in mind. That was a later on. That was a deal that was reworked, and we were kind of confused what was going on there. Yeah, so I think Christian Gonzalez is a perfect fit, and he can play safety if they need him to. I think he's kind of that Derwin James-esque guy, maybe not as physical. Definitely not as physical, but he's very similar to Derwin James in that aspect, because I thought Derwin James could start at corner when he was coming out. Like that was the thing. I think that's kind of interchangeable. We kind of have to go a little bit quicker here, but the Cardinals have my 11th pick, and on your board that wouldn't be the Titans because you have the trade. So I already forgot the Lions would be the pick for you. Yeah. So we're mixing everything up and everyone's confused, but 11th overall pick, you have the Lions, I have Tennessee, or I have the Cardinals. Who are you going with?
I'm going with Joey Porter Jr., another guy with extremely long arms, cornerback. I know his dad played in the NFL as well with the Steelers, so I'm going Joey Porter. He's a guy. Like I said, long arms. He can make 34-inch arms. Ran a 4.46 at the combine and second team All-American. So, his dad played, but this guy can ball as well. They're not like just passing him through. But I got Joey Porter, and like I said, his arms are crazy long. I mean, he has leads the team in pass breakups and leads the league in pass breakups. So, 11 of them. I want him on my team. If he's breaking up passes, put him on my squad.
So I have, and I like Joey Porter Jr. I'm not going to spoil it because we have the second part, but we'll get to that. So Nolan Smith is the pick for the Cardinals. All right, you go down a little bit in terms of Will Anderson being the most, I would say, the most well-rounded prospect, but Nolan Smith has the unbelievable athleticism that will put him well into the top 15 in this draft. And I think Arizona's getting an absolute stud of a pass rusher, but also he's not just a pure speed rusher. I was so impressed with his ability to stop the run. He can break, basically he can, contain, he can deconstruct blocks. I think he's a true off-ball linebacker type, as far as like the agility there, if they need him to play that as well. But he definitely works as an edge defender, and he can explode. And, I just think this is a guy that makes a lot of sense for them, and they'll definitely be happy about this. They add another second, a first, a late round pick. I mean, this is a win from trading down from 3 in this mock draft.
That's a big win. Hey, that's a big win. It's about hitting. You got to hit. If you're a team, you got to hit. Especially the Rams. The Rams definitely got to hit this year. But uh,
Yeah.
going to our next one, I got the Texans here, and I'm going to go Peter Skoronski. Skoronski. They got a quarterback. They got a quarterback that hits a block for now. So get a guy that can get that done. And you raved about him earlier, just the way he's able to move, playing on the blind side as well. And I mentioned to you his hands. He has great hands. They're always up. A lot of times we talk about with boxers and getting fatigued. A lot of times those arms drop. His hands are always up, and I really like that a lot. So a little bit different, than our guy Paris. Paris, he's a bigger guy, so sometimes he keeps him a little bit lower. But I like what I see from Skoronski, just kind of keeping them hands up and playing effectively and playing sound. So over to you, Jake. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Skoronski a lot, as you know. I have the Texans at 12 staying here. I know some people, see a trade. I don't. I think they get their quarterback. I think they go with Will Levis here. I'm not, overly excited about it. I don't think Will Levis is a first-round talent. I think he's a second-round talent. But I think, this is where they'll go. I think this is somebody that comes right out of the gate. He'll have about 3-4 years to figure it out. This is a team that has a lot of draft picks from the Deshaun Watson trade. This is a team that has new coaching. This is a team that is entering a new era. And I think he's going to get a chance to work out all of his issues on the football field. I think he'll start. And if he's not ready, then it'll be Davis Mills. But either way, I think they're going to wait and get their quarterback because I don't think they're in any hurry. I think they want to make sure they, went out and got the best possible defensive player that they could, and then they go and get Will Levis at pick 12.
Okay, I like it. And then rolling on, we got the Jets coming up next. I got
Packers.
Sorry, the Packers.
The trade.
Just the trade that happened yesterday that just happened. So if we have the Packers up next there, Jake, I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid. On that one. And I'm sure you probably do too.
I'm going Dalton Kincaid as well. That means we both believe the first pass catcher will be a tight end. How about that?
There you go. First pass catcher. And I have on my notes here, just throw it up. I have there in my notes, just throw the ball up. Dalton's going to come down with it. And I have throw it up for a touchdown or a first down. I have here Kelsey and Kittle type ball skill, just the way he's going to go up and attack that football. And you can't just make those comparisons, but Dalton Kincaid is him. And so, and I have a second part here in my notes from watching this film. Throw him the damn ball. I know he's gonna have to work on blocking a little bit in the pros, but he's really that receiver type that's going to go up and snag that football for your team.
Yeah, he's going to help Jordan Love a lot. I mean, him, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, I love it. Moving on to the 14, who do you got?
14. I know my draft selection got thrown off of here. So we got the Patriots here. I'm going our Brian Branch, safety from Alabama. Just the way he plays, he's effective in the game, and coming from Georgia as well. So Sandy Creek, that's not far from where I came up from. 90 tackles, 3 sacks, and 7 PBUs. Can't beat that. Second team All-American. And I have here great blitz ability, very disruptive, and I can see him more as a nickel. I can see him playing in the slot a lot of the times. Of course, he's playing safety, but he can also play in the slot as well. So Brian Branch going to the Patriots from Alabama.
I got Lucas Van Ness going to the Patriots. LVN is flying up boards. He never really started a game, which is kind of crazy, but he's got positional versatility. I think he's going to work in that multiple defensive front that they play. With Uche going into a contract year and the Patriot way not paying those guys and just moving on, this seems like a no-brainer pick. He looks like a Patriot. I think they get the kid out of Iowa.
Okay, I like it. And our last two here, I know we're going back to the Jets now. And for the Jets, I got our guy, Broderick Jones, coming out of UGA, offensive tackle. 2-time, like you brought him up a little bit earlier. You had him higher on your board, but, 2-time natty champ. So go ahead and get him in there, 6'5", 311 pounds, around a 4.97 at offensive tackle. He's great with twists. He can recover really well. And one of my critiques was his hands are a little bit too low. I don't like his hands. I need his hand to be up a little bit more so he can get ready to punch. But Broderick Jones is my guy going to the Jets to protect Aaron Rodgers.
I got Darnell Wright, so a different one out of Tennessee. I think his stock is flying. I remember I had a way too early mock draft of him going in the second round, but this is a plug-and-play offensive tackle. I think he makes sense. Now the Jets have Tucker, they have Brown, they have Becton, they have Mitchell. I think they have a lot of depth there. You go out and you get Aaron Rodgers, a guy. And then pick 16, I have Deonte Banks going to the Commanders. I think you're getting one of the most athletic corners to ever come out of the draft. Everyone seems to be mocking Joey Porter Jr. here, although I know you're not going to. But, I like the pick. I think they need some athletic help, and they need to, bolster that cornerback room.
I'm going Bijan for my 16th pick, Jake.
Wow.
At Washington. Yeah, I know. Bijan Robinson, like I said, every time I watch him, I fall in love a little bit more, kind of like a Josh Jacobs. Or I keep saying Reggie Bush. He's wearing that 5, the way he breaks in the open field. I like the Reggie Bush comparison. But, he had 3 2,000-yard seasons in high school. I mean, the guy is next level. And I think he's going to do the same thing once he gets to the NFL. You're going to see 2,000-yard seasons. I love the way he plays. And then he won the Doak Walker Award. So nation's top running back. See him in the NFL. I love to see him in the 16th pick.
Well, that's definitely that was a twist. I wasn't expecting that. So appreciate you guys tuning in. But before we let you go, special happy birthday to former Cowboys safety Darren Woodson, a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, played all 12 years with the Dallas Cowboys, started 162 games, 23 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, and 967 tackles. My man was a baller. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's one of the Hall of Very Good players that doesn't get enough credit. So happy birthday to Darren Woodson.
Big birthday to Big Woodson. Happy birthday.
All right, so that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Later, folks.